Hey there, it's Dave with House Flipping Spreadsheet, and this is a quick video tutorial on all of the new changes to the House Flipping Spreadsheet 6 version. So one of the first things you'll notice once you log in is we have a new user interface, some new icons, some new workflows inside the spreadsheet. If you go over to the deal analysis workflow, you'll notice that we've simplified the analysis workflow for the rehab analysis. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to set up the project info. So the project info sheet has been changed. So now you're only going to input the property information, which is just going to be the address, the number of beds, baths, square footage, and then your company information. So all of this property information and company information feeds over to the reports throughout the spreadsheet. Now you'll notice that we've moved the financing setup information. So previously in the House Flipping Spreadsheet 5, you could set up your financing information and some other deal analysis information on the property setup sheet. Now you're going to do all of that information directly on the Rehab Analyzer. So if you click Next, that's going to take you to the Rehab Analyzer tool. So here on the Rehab Analyzer tool, this is where you're going to set up all of your project financials. So you're going to set up your after repair value on what you think you can resell the property for. You're going to set up your buying costs, your holding costs, your selling costs, and then your financing costs. So if you click on the setup button over here on the left, it'll take you to the financing setup sheet. So the financing setup sheet is where you can set up all of your different financing options for the project. So the first option is all cash. So if you're going to just use your own cash to fund the project, you can just select all cash. If you're going to be getting outside funding from a lender that you're going to be paying monthly interest for, you can set up a loan. So you can select your different loan amounts here, or you can input your own specific loan amount, set up the number of payments that you're going to be paying, the interest rate and points for that loan. Or a new option that we have is the equity profit share. So this is a scenario where maybe you're partnering with an investor and they are going to invest some money into the deal, and then they get a share of the project profits for lending that money on the project. So you can see you've got a profit breakdown. In this project we had $24,000 in profit. The investor's getting 25% profit share, so they're going to get about $6,000 for the money that they invest in this deal, and then we're going to get $18,000 for rehabbing the property and everything on this project. And then there's a new project capital results section. This will just break down all of the capital information on how much capital is needed, how much funding you're getting on the deal, and then how much cash you'll have to bring to the table. If we go back to the Rehab Analyzer, this is just a quick clarification on the repair estimator here. Right here in the middle we have our repair cost section. There is a little drop down menu here. It's kind of hard to see, but you can change this to whatever you want for calculating your repair costs. So quick bid is what we've currently got selected. That basically allows you to input values directly into the Rehab Analyzer here. So if you just wanted to quickly plug in some numbers for roofing, $5,500, garage doors, maybe $1,000, etc., etc., you could just quickly go through and just input those values directly in the Rehab Analyzer. Otherwise, you can use the detailed option, which allows you to basically pull over the detailed cost information from the repair estimator. So once you select that option from the drop-down menu, you'll see your values will be updated here, and that's actually feeding over from the repair estimator tool. So you can see we've got $53,000 in our estimated costs. Those values are now feeding over to our Rehab Analyzer dashboard. So again, all of this information is used to calculate your maximum purchase price for the property. So $165,000 in resale value minus $19,000 in fixed costs, minus $68,000 in repairs, minus your profit that you want to make on the deal. So we need to offer $52,000 for this property. So all of this information feeds over to investment reports. So one of the things that we did was we updated our investment packet. So the investment packet basically summarizes all of your deal information into a printer-friendly report that you can share with your investors and your lenders. So you'll see that we've kind of revamped everything on this report. So you've got a project financial overview page, basically summarizes your analysis that's calculated, your project profit, your project returns, and everything like that. And then you've got a project capital page. So this is just a breakdown of the financing that's used, the debt financing, the equity financing, the amount of cash that you're going to need to bring to the table. And then we've got a new comparable sales report. This information actually feeds from the comparable sales tool, but this can be used to show all of the different comps that you're using to calculate your after repair value for the property. You've got a new estimate summary page, which basically summarizes all of the costs from the repair estimator. So it just gives them a quick overview of all of the costs on the project. And then you've got a property photos page. So we've got one property photos page, and then there's an additional property photos page. If you've got a bunch of different photos you want to share, you can have two photos there, 2 pages of photos for your property. And then another thing that we revamped was the rental calculator on the analysis side of the spreadsheet. So it's a little bit more of a traditional rental calculator here. So it's just really kind of a cash flow analysis calculator. So you can input your rental income, and you notice that you can now use up to 5 different units. Previously it was really just for a single family investment property. Now you can do up to 5. So it's really built for small multifamily properties. You can calculate your operating expenses and your long-term financing here to basically calculate your cash flow after debt, your equity earned from purchasing the property and rehabbing the property, paying down your principal, and your property appreciation. So it really gives you an overall good picture of what your total return is going to be if you buy a property, renovate it, rehab it, and then rent it out long term. So that pretty much summarizes all of the changes to the analysis side of the spreadsheet. We had some pretty big changes to the accounting side of the spreadsheet as well. So all of your deal information feeds over to a new tool called the Project Budgeter. So the Project Budgeter basically shows what your initial budget is, what you've spent to date, and then you can forecast out your costs to project where your values are going to come in at. So the budgeted information, that basically feeds over from the deal analysis. So it's going to feed over from the rehab analyzer. So you can see it's got it pre-populated with our purchase price, our buying costs, holding costs, selling costs, financing costs, and then you've got all of your repair costs here as well. So you can see it's got all of our profit projections that we initially estimated and have budgeted for the project. Then you've got your spent to date column. So that basically feeds from the income tracker and the expense tracker. So this is the income tracker. You can put in what you actually sold the property for. You can switch it over to the expense tracker. This is where you can track all of your project expenses on the property. So you'll basically just go through, input a description. You can track which account you paid it out of. You can track which vendor you paid for the deal or for the repairs on the property. And then you're going to categorize all of your expenses as well. So is it a purchase price expense, buying costs, holding costs, selling costs, or was it a repair cost on the project? And then if you input that quantity in unit price, it's basically just going to categorize all of this information for you and put it back onto that project budgeter tool. And you can compare what you've spent to date to what you budgeted. So you can see what we've spent to date on this property was $52,000 for the purchase. We are 100% complete with all of our purchase expenses. So right now it's forecasting that we're going to be $875 under budget for our purchase expenses. Same thing with buying costs. We initially estimated that we were going to be about $1,000 in buying costs. We've spent to date $1,060. So we are $60 over budget. If we go down to our repair costs here, our initial budget was $1,600. We've spent to date $1,700. We're 100% complete with the demolition repairs on the project, so we're actually over budget by $140 on demolition. And then if you go down, you can see it's projecting out what your profit's going to be on the project. So in this scenario, let's say that we resold it for $175. We were initially only thinking we could sell it for 165, so we did pretty well on selling the property, actually $10,000 more than what we anticipated. But our project costs are $3,300 more than we anticipated. So our net profit, we're going to be making about $6,600 than initially anticipated. We initially anticipated about $24,000 in this deal. We're at about $31,000 in this deal now that we're forecasting out all of our costs. Another quick change on the accounting side was the change orders. So actually, if we go back to the project budgeter here, you'll notice that at the bottom of the project budgeter, we've got an area called adders, contingency, and change orders. So adders and contingency feeds over from the repair estimator. So we've got, or the rehab analyzer, we've got our adders section here at the bottom. So basically these adders are in here for contractors overhead and profit and contingency, but basically that just creates a contingency budget for the project that can be used to pay for change orders or other unforeseen items on the project. So you can see on this project we've got about $15,000 in contingency items. If we go back to the budgeter here, you can see that's pulling over here. But you can actually pull out your costs from this contingency bucket on the expense tracker. So if you go over here to the expense tracker, I'm just going to show you how you can track your change orders. So let's say change order number 2. Let's say we built a new deck on the back of the house, and then we're just going to categorize this to decking. And just as a correction, you wouldn't categorize this to decking, you would actually categorize this to change order. So usually if you wanted to track that to an existing budget item in your base budget, you would track that to decking and patios, but since we are tracking a change order, we are going to track that to the change order category. So now that we've tracked that to the change order category, if we go back to the project budgeter here, you will see that we've spent $5,000 out of our contingency budget and our change order budget down here in our project budget. So if we ended up not using anything else, you can see we're $9,000 under budget for our adders and contingency. So we've actually saved money in our contingency and change orders section of our budget. So that's how you can do that. Again, we do have some investment reports here that you can use to track all of this information. So expense by category report. So you can see all of that information from the expense tracker is put into a nice summary report, which basically shows what you spent for purchasing the property, what all of your different repair costs are on the property, and then you can see we've got that change order item here as well. So $5,000 is what we've spent in change orders. And then if you go down to the bottom here, we've got some detailed expense reports which basically show you all of the detailed line items for each category. And then you'll see down here at the bottom we've got the change order item here of $5,000. So now you can track and see all of your change orders that you have on the project. So if you had a list of change orders, it would show you every single change order item on the project, so you could see what those change orders were and where you were spending your money on your project. So that's a quick 15-minute overview of the new changes to the House Flipping Spreadsheet 6. If you have any questions at all, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. Thanks, bye.